Today, we're looking at Krishna's Brown Pink. It's a part of their specialty series line of inks. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Krishna's Brown Pink is kind of a brown pink, kind of magenta brown sort of color. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put it into a different pen for a day. I then put it into a Lamy Al-Star with a 1.1 stub to take my notes for this video. Before we get to the writing sample, let's look at the sciencey bits. And up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left, done the way it's supposed to be done, we see pink at the very bottom, and it's rising up into some magenta in the center streaks, red to the sides of it, and a faint brown line across the top. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water, and it looks exactly the same, giving me the idea that this ink will have no real resistance or anything holding it back from being reactivated. Now, resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to hold up on the paper, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean out of your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. When we look at the highlighter, we see that it completely reactivates. It explodes into itself, and if it was a bunch of writing, you might not be able to read it. Absolutely avoid it in a situation where you might have to highlight. Water reactivates and pulls up all the dark colors that were there, leaving only behind some of the pink. I think that given a little more time than 30 seconds, it will completely come out without a problem. Pen Flush does very much the same thing, although oddly, it seems a bit darker than what the water left. And bleach completely kills this ink. It takes it entirely off the page. But looking at this, I think water is all that it takes to clean this from your pen. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Krishna's Brown Pink has a viscosity of 2.36, making it a very normal flow in ink. To get my average dry times, I use my writing samples of the extra fine and medium nib done on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Krishna's Brown Pink has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making it a faster drying ink. It's on par with some marketed fast dry inks. Very impressive. Now let's look at the writing sample. I got this ink in bottle form, because back when I got it, I was ordering from India, and in order to get them and make it worthwhile, I had to order a bunch, like 30 of them or so. This is one that I basically ordered what they had. This is not a color I would have thought, hey, brown pink, I want some of that. To keep my writing sample consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1. I use a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's look at Clairefontaine. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. With the 1.1, we have no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. But with the extra fine, that's what I was just kind of, I don't think I'm going to get it on camera. I'm seeing in the extra fine some of the sheen. Anyway, the extra fine, we have no feather, no spread, no halo. We do have minor sheening, and we do have some shading that's going on. So this ink, again, I wouldn't have bought it by the name, Brown Pink. Doesn't sound like a color combination you want. Turns out it's not so bad. Minor sheening right on the edges of the letter. When you turn it with the light, so if you're holding this paper, I'm wondering if I can get it. I'm not going to get it. If we look at the swab, we see we definitely have the sheen. Easier to see here. It's definitely here, just hard for me to get on camera. Sorry. No halo. Definite color variation. 6 seconds to dry. Medium, we have no feather, no spread, no halo. We are getting some of that same sheen again. We're definitely getting color variation the whole way through. We have 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby, I wonder if the scrubby will show us the sheen, and it's not. It's not in there, but it's in the writing a little bit. The scrubby shows us that we shouldn't expect a ton of color variation, but that we get some. When you look at the far left and the far right of the extra fine, you have more color variation, like in the writing. Less color variation with the medium, and less color variation in the writing. The smear says you can recover this. On to Tomoe River. Tomoe River gives us, ignoring this at the scrubby, a spot that looks like it might be wanting to come through, but it didn't come through. Of course we have ghosting. The 1.1, no feather, no spread, no halo. Some sheening right around the edges on brown, and the camera wants to make a liar out of me. I have a little bit of sheening around the bottom edge of the brown, just like all the way across it. Anyway, the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo. The sheen I don't see in the writing. No shade. We lose the shade with this paper, which is frequent to happen. 10 seconds to dry. Medium gives us no feather, no spread, no halo. We do get some of the sheen. We don't get any of the shade. We get 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us the sheen. Right in the middle of the medium scrubby. We're seeing a little bit of the sheen, not a ton of it. Shows us we don't get color variation. The smear shows us we don't get to recover because we wrote it on Tomoe River. The Rhodia paper gives us no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 gives us no feather, no spread, no halo. I'm not seeing the sheen on this paper. I don't know if something's going on with this particular, but I don't see it here. But it's weird because this is Rhodia paper and I'm seeing it. But yeah, this is Rhodia paper and I definitely see it. This is Rhodia paper and I don't. My notes are Rhodia paper and it's a 1.1 and I see little bits. Make me a liar, camera. Thank you. Thank you for making me a liar. Yeah. I see little bits. Not tons. Little bits. It's just neat little spots you see of the sheen. Anyway, the extra fine, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen in that writing. No shade in that writing. 7 seconds to dry. The medium has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shading in that writing. 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us that we're getting very little color variation on this paper. The smear says we can recover it. The writing that I did for my notes shows color variation, but that's a 1.1 Lamy Stub. So as we frequently see, the pen and nib you choose really does alter a lot of what a nib or an ink can give you. The smear says you can recover that. I went and got curious about the color variation, so I looked at the yellow Rhodia. That's a spot from the paper underneath. We, of course, have no bleeding and no ghosting. Looking at the color change if I use yellow paper. Definitely becomes a bit darker. That's about it. That's the only color variation I see for the yellow paper. Of course, the yellow Rhodia paper gives us no feather, no spread, no halo. The sheen's still not there with this in the 1.1. The extra fine gives us no feather, no spread, no halo. Nope, no sheen. 7 seconds. The medium, no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 13 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us we're not getting color variation with this yellow. It just gets darker. The smear says you might be able to recover it where you could have before. Then I'm looking at hazel paper.
Now this hazel paper is from when I ordered the ink. They had these hazel notebooks like this. And they're nice notebooks. They're not the greatest in the world. They're not horrible. Try and find them. They definitely show through. But in a carry-around notebook, it's not horrible. Feels kind of neat. It's got the cardboard archiving sleeve. I don't know. It's not bad. Not the greatest. I would say if you're ordering a bunch of the Krishna inks, order a couple and try them out because they are not very expensive. For being not very expensive, their performance is spectacular. With the hazel paper, we have no bleeding, no ghosting. We saw it on that note page, but I actually get better performance on that paper with the Krishna inks than I do with some of the others. Go figure. The 1.1 gives us no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine has no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 3 seconds to dry. It made this into a super fast dry ink. And the medium gives us no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. 6 seconds to dry. Looking at the extra fine and the medium scrub, the extra fine looks like we should get some color variation, but it does not show up for me in the writing. Only in the scrubby. The smear says the extra fine I can recover, the medium I can't. Just something to think about. Then I went to Strathmore calligraphy paper. This gave us no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 definitely had no feather or no spread at all. But it's not feathering so much as the texture of the paper makes the lines not as nice. Look at the K. The line's just not as nice. It looks like it's going to be feathering. It's not. Look at the K in pink. It's not feathering. It's the texture of the paper. But this ink really went after that texture, which didn't help it. The extra fine had no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, and 4 seconds to dry. The medium had no feather, no spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby shows us we're not going to get any color variation in either of these nibs, and the smear says you don't get to recover when you write on laid paper because we're going to show you what the paper looks like. And that's what I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Krishna's brown pink, I would prefer to find an ink that complements the color on the page. And I've chosen Private Reserve's Spearmint because of its light green color. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Krishna's brown pink? It is a great shading ink, a great sheening ink if sheen is what you care for. I think that this color would make you not want to buy the bottle, but it's an amazing color of ink. I am glad I had to get a bottle in order to actually be able to test this because of how I got a hold of them. This is a fantastic ink, something that's going to be largely overlooked because of the color in its name. It's amazing. Thanks for watching.